Hey, what's up, YouTube fans? What I wanted to talk about in this video, right, is one of the ways in which chimpanzees have, at least according to what some research has indicated, they've undergone, in some ways, more evolutionary change than we have since our last common ancestor with them. It's a common misconception that people will think that humans evolved from chimpanzees, or they'll think that evolutionary theory says that we evolved from chimpanzees, but that's a complete misconception. Instead, humans and chimpanzees trace back to a common ancestor, right, which was neither a human nor a chimp, right? And from that ancestor, two groups branched off from each other, one leading to chimps and bonobos, and the other leading to humans, right? I also should mention bonobos are equally closely related to us. In any event, the last common ancestor between us and them was not a chimpanzee, nor was it the same as a chimpanzee in every way, because they since then have also been evolving, right? But they've been evolving in their own way, right? So for them to evolve does not require that they also become humans, which is a common misconception that people will have, that like if they also evolved, then they should have also become humans. But that's actually not how evolution works, because evolution does not have any particular direction it's supposed to go in. There's no goal that it's ultimately supposed to lead up to, like that it all has to progress towards humans or even in any particular direction. Yes, evolution is not just like a random process. There's the process of natural selection, which you definitely should learn about if you don't already understand. It's not a random process in entirety, but there's no particular direction it has to go in. It can go in many different directions due to differing factors, such as differing environments, which will create differing pressures towards the way that differing groups have to adapt, right? And so chimpanzees and bonobos, they are not identical in every way to our last common ancestor with them. Now, to be fair, our lineage did change much more significantly in our anatomy and behavior. So I can understand how someone could get it mixed up, therefore, and confused, where they would think that we would have evolved from chimpanzees, but that's actually not really accurate. We didn't actually evolve from chimpanzees. We evolved from a common ancestor with chimpanzees, right? So in any event, though, what I further wanted to talk about with that, though, right, is that what some research has indicated is that one of the ways that chimpanzees have changed more so than us since our last common ancestor with them is in terms of the hands, right? So I'll actually link a paper on this for a study done on the video, which you guys could read more about. Essentially what they found, right, is that the human hands are more similar to what the last common ancestor between us and chimps and bonobos, the last common ancestor of us, what the hands of that ancestor looked like was more so like what our hands are like, right? At least according to what this research has indicated, um, and that would further explain also why it is that gorillas actually have more similar hands to us than chimps and bonobos do, right? Gorillas' DNA evidence indicates are our next closest living relatives after the chimps and bonobos. But the gorillas, they actually have more similar hands to us than chimps and bonobos do, which, I mean, you don't have to like take the word for it of that study to even know that. If you just simply look at what the hands of a gorilla looks like versus the hands of a chimp and the hands of a human, it's pretty obvious and clear to see that gorillas have much more human-like hands. That's actually something both me and my friend Michael, who is also very interested in this topic, we both of us oftentimes comment on that and observe that when we're watching videos of chimps and gorillas, that gorillas have much more human-like hands. I think my friend Sean, who I met on YouTube, he has also mentioned that before, if I'm not mistaken. And also what this study found, right, is that also the old world monkeys, they also have more similar hand proportions to us, right? Whereas it's more so different in chimps, bonobos, orangutans, and gibbons. And so the conclusion they came to, right, based on a statistical analysis of these different groups, is that most likely, since the last common ancestor of all of these groups, the finger proportions have remained the same in old world monkeys and gorillas and humans, whereas they've more so diverged and changed in the gibbons and orangutans and chimps and bonobos. And basically what they found was that that convergently the chimps and bonobos, they, along with the orangutans, both those two lineages, independently evolved the trait of having the condition of having the four fingers aside from the thumb became particularly long, right? And the thumb being particularly short, right? That independently happened in the orangutan lineage and the lineage leading to chimps and bonobos. And then meanwhile, in the gibbon lineage, gibbons evolved particularly long fingers, including their thumbs, right? And now, while these studies did find that the chimps and bonobos' hands have undergone more evolutionary change since our last common ancestor with them, that does not mean that our hands did not change at all. And in fact, humans have the longest thumbs relative to the rest of our fingers out of all primates, which is most likely because of the fact that humans have gone on to specialize in tool use, right? We've gone on to use our hands particularly a lot for making and using tools. Not that that hasn't been observed in some other primates. I mean, I've even observed that myself at the zoo being done by chimps. I have videos on my channel where you could see chimps making and using basic tools. At least, I mean, if we want to even call it a tool, I mean, it is very basic, but, at least a very simple tool that they make. But humans much more so make and use tools, and we don't really rely on our hands at all for tree climbing. Even though we still can tree climb to an extent, it isn't really a regular part of our lifestyle. So the human hands have become particularly specialized, it would seem, for tool making, right? But overall, what some research has indicated, the chimpanzees and bonobos, their hands have changed more so than ours have since the last common ancestor, right? And so the last common ancestor between us and them would have had hands more so similar to ours than to theirs. But really, maybe between, really maybe more so than like ours, it would have been more so like a gorilla's, right? Uh, and so, very interesting stuff. Yeah, I mean, all primates have similar hands to us. It's because we are primates that we have nails rather than claws. Nails are different than claws, like what you see on most mammals and also on reptiles and birds. Nails are different in that they are shorter and flatter and wider. That's actually one of the main traits of primates. And the fact that we have long, dexterous fingers with grasping ability. But there is some diversity between different groups of primates of the hands, right? And it's not all due to evolution in our lineage. We're not the only lineage that's been evolving. So people will ask, like, oh, why didn't any of the other primates evolve? Well, they did evolve, right? But they didn't evolve in the same way as we did, because evolution doesn't have any particular direction it has to go in. There's also no requirement that like all groups have to undergo the same amount of evolutionary change within a given time period, because it's a natural process, right? So there's no law that it has to, run in an equivalent way, like in terms of the amount of anatomical change for all groups. For depending on the environment, some environments will favor more change, whereas other environments will favor more so to stay the same. So very interesting stuff. All right, that's all for now. See you guys.